And hello, we are finally here at StarWest 2023 in Anaheim, Disneyland, opening this conference week, which, as you know, we come here, we like to do lots of interviews, lots of fun. We just had a modern performance workshop this morning. Tutorial, not workshop, sorry. Here there are tutorials. But now I have the pleasure, the honor of having here Stacy Kirk. Stacy, welcome.
Thank you. I'm excited to talk with you.
Yeah, it's gonna be a blast because for everyone that didn't know, Stacy and I were talking about doing some collaboration this time. It's not only this mustache that you're gonna be seeing this time on the streams. We're gonna have add some beauty into these takes.
There we go.
Not only mustaches and
More beauty. More
no
beauty.
beauty. Period. I cannot compete. And well, we're starting. Yesterday, the tutorials began. I think that they are not called tutorials. Yesterday's are classes or something. They have another category. I don't know what is the difference, but they seem to be fun. And today, the modern performance tutorial, and tomorrow we have a special tutorial coming from Stacy and
Erica Chestnut.
Erica
Together,
Chestnut.
we teaming up.
Yeah, it's gonna be a tag match,
Mhm.
not against the audience, but with the audience. But before we get more further into that, Stacy, I wanted to let you share for the people that do not know you. What is the deal with you? What are you doing?
Yep.
What's up with Stacy?
Okay. Well, I am back out. I spoke a lot pre-pandemic. I did a few conferences virtually during the kind of post-pandemic, but this is really my first time being back talking, speaking, and doing a tutorial. So I'm really excited about that. But just a little bit about me and my background. I have been in the testing phase for over 25 years.
Oh,
And luckily, or not so luckily for me, I was part of the dot com boom and had an opportunity to jump right into being a leader, and then stayed in leadership for a very long time until I decided to be my own consultant, be my own boss. And that was in 2010. And in 2015, I said, you know what? Bright idea. Let me grow my company so I had less to do. Trust me, that is never the case.
no. Spoiler alert,
Spoiler alert.
doesn't happen.
No, if you bring more people on, it does not reduce the amount of work you have. But I'm very fortunate and thankful that over the last 8 years since we've grown, we have close to 50 people that are part of our consulting firm. We are across the U.S. We're in Jamaica. We speak at conferences. My team and I speak at conferences all over the world, and we're just staying really busy now, especially getting super excited about how we integrate generative AI into the work that we do.
Yeah, that's the rage now coming. AI this, AI that. And I believe I interviewed what you mentioned, people from Jamaica. Um,
Julia Pottinger.
yeah,
Yeah.
in PNSQC, I believe I met Julia,
Okay.
and it was a great experience because Julia also has an incredible background, all the teaching and all the material that she's doing.
Yep.
And when you were saying that when you started long ago, that what caught my attention is in those days. It's not that we are very past from this division, not having that many women in tech,
Mhm.
uh, not having QA has always had a little bit more representation. But
Yep.
I'm curious, what made you get into tech and into testing? But first, that barrier. It's interesting. Not not many women there too, and even when they are in, it's kind of tough. How was
Yeah.
the beginning for you? Your
Yeah.
origin
Well,
story?
fortunately, I always say fortunately, maybe unfortunately, I was the fourth daughter to my father. And I think, secretly he probably wanted a son. So when he had me, he was like, forget it. I'm going to lift with her. I'm taking her to Radio Shack. We're going to build engineering sets. And so I did a lot of technical stuff with him at an early age, and got my first computer. Was fortunate to have a programming class in elementary school. And that's a long time ago when I was in elementary school. And I just fell in love with computer science. And so I decided, you know what? I'm going to go to the best computer science school in the world. I think it is Stanford University,
Not bad at all. Yeah.
or one of them, I'll say, and really hone in on what computer science was. But during that, I had an internship, and I had no idea. I just knew they were going to pay me a lot of money at the time, and they said you're going to be doing something called QA, and I was just so excited about getting paid. I just said whatever you need me to do, I'll do it. And after probably a day of going through test cases, I realized that they was so inefficient. And I just kept thinking, why do we not code this so that no one has to run through these test cases all summer long? This is horrible.
So you
Um,
started manual testing.
Yes, I started with manual. Yes, it was a very long time ago. At most, there was one person in like a dark room in the back, and I found him, and I was like, "I heard you know what automation is. Can you teach it to me?" Right? And so I decided I love the idea of bringing QA into more of a technical role. And then because I could code and because I was bringing automation to teams that were manual, and this is like in the early 2000s, it allowed me to move up the managerial track very quickly. But it was no one in the rooms that looked like me. There were no women, there were no people of color. And so that was okay. I grew up in a small town where I was one of very few in my class that were of color. So I was comfortable in those arenas. But I also could see that there were other women, there were other people of color that weren't getting those same opportunities, then doesn't necessarily have that voice. And so when I started Quality Works, part of the first thing I did was create my core values, one of them being teamwork, one of them being entrepreneurial spirit. And if you ask anyone that's on our company, you will know they will tell you that our culture is at the core of why they love being there. And at that core, I wanted to have women speakers. I wanted young speakers to be confident that they know enough to get out there. No one did that for me. No one told me, hey, you can go and talk, you can become an expert. It was probably the opposite. A lot of people told me I didn't know what I was doing, I
No.
wasn't good. And so I wanted to build a culture that really invested in in my team and my people. And so I would fly out people like Angie Jones. She came to Jamaica and she spoke,
Cool.
and inspired my team on how do they start their first, speaking opportunity, that led to Julia and Shanka and Dimitri and a lot of our kind of now very senior consultant solution architects, to get out on the road and be a part of Test Automation University, to do their own content and really build their own confidence, knowing that they had a leader in me that would support them having a voice, because nobody really wanted to hear my voice. Luckily I
Oh.
stand 6 foot tall, so I wherever I go, I talk, and the voice just goes everywhere. But not everyone has that level of confidence, and so it was critical for me to build an organization that talks specifically about confidence, and that's what I'm here talking about in this tutorial tomorrow is confident communication. So it all plays together.
It's an interesting pattern where most of, yeah, you get super excited when I see presenters, women that are giving tutorials or just in the IT area. And this is a common question that I do. And so many have told me, like, yeah, my dad wanted a boy. And probably that was like a very good kickoff for
Really? So I'm not the
the
only one.
it's like a common pattern that
Okay.
I think takes you away from. I remember in Star East, I can't remember her name right now. Long flight last night. I'm sorry, I'm a little bit slow right now, but she was telling that her uncle got her into Star Trek and all the
Okay.
gizmos and tech, the
Yeah.
things that. Uh, no reference to the last name. We had already that discussion. Not getting into that, but it was a story from there, and was a we're counting strikes here. the the inspiration or just knowing that there's that opportunity that women can be there,
Yeah.
it crushes me a little bit to hear that you were a little bit like pushed down and try to you don't know what you're doing, or what kept you pushing, like when you got those comments or attacks, for the straightly those attacks.
Yeah. Well, one of the things, and I've shared this with my team, um, as they potentially are, I have a lot of young people that work for me, and I let them know there's things that are going to happen in your life, and you're not going to understand why they happen, and they seem like a waste until you get to a ripe, wise old age like me, or maybe not as old as me, and you realize, oh, that somewhat sometimes traumatic event helped prepare me for what's to come. And
Mm.
because I was able to go through it and learn from it, now I stand stronger. I'm able to do more. And so, um, I grew up in a small town called Hurst, Texas, that was coined North Texas, capital of the Ku Klux Klan. I was the
Oh.
only black child in my entire elementary school. And growing up in that environment, I will not say it was the most friendly situation day to day. And luckily, I have a mother that is from Brownsville, New York. She always says Mike Tyson and I are from the same street, right? So she's a
Cool.
tough lady, right? And she has always instilled in me, don't back down. You're God's gift. And she would always tell me every day, please don't tell your children that every day is too much. But she would tell me every
Why
day.
not? I think that's a good.
Well, it worked in my case. I don't know. Sometimes some kids will be like, you know what? I don't even need to study. I'm a gift. I should just lay here. And um, but she instilled in me a fight that allowed me, by the time I got to corporate America and I became a senior leader, and I just didn't feel like I had to back down. And so, even though I will say there was probably some trauma and pain in my formative years to get to where I'm at now, um, it all worked so that now, as I mentor um, young people, or in people in general that have fear and risk of going to the next level in their career, going to the next level in their personal life, I feel like I've weathered enough storms now where I feel like my gift now is to give back and to share how much people don't know that they have inside of them that they have yet to unleash. And it's really exciting to see. And in the 8 years that I've grown my consulting firm, it's amazing. Like, I'm happy to be a keynote, but seeing people like Julia Pottinger, that I remember interviewing in college, be on the stages from here, from Southern California all the way to London, is just awesome. It feels even better than doing it for myself.
At times it feels surreal, right? Like, where
It
have you gotten to? And
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing, and it was isn't easy, but it is. I feel like my purpose has all come together with the work that I do, and that's what I wish for everybody. I mean, that's where you want to be.
what is your purpose then?
My purpose is to inspire and to help people unlock why they are here. I know this, I don't want to get too metaphysical, it's supposed to
No,
be
no, no.
technical,
It's
but why they're here, why they're on earth, what is their voice, and how do they feel confident and um, letting that out. And so, I love talking tech, and I love, talking about how we're using generative AI with our automation and creating all this stuff. But at the core, if you don't have some of these life skills, if you don't have some of these emotional intelligence development, communication, it just won't get you very far. And so I love to bring the technical as sometimes as excuse me, technical as kind of a hey, get you in the door, excite people, but what really moves the needle is really in here and in here.
Yeah, the human side, and many times we IT people tend to forget that one, and it's crucial. I couldn't say if it's 50-50 or which
Mm.
one is more. I wouldn't dare together.
Yeah, no,
That's a
that's a debate.
a very deep, and as you were saying, kind of existential debate. So,
Mm,
but it's a good percentage,
mm,
and people should be paying attention to. I so many times I you made me reflect on my past. Like, yeah, so many times I should have improved on communication, or
mm,
even some things like management or talking to people up level bosses
yeah,
and reports that sometimes we don't know why the boss is not super excited about our new, I don't know, placeholder in the automation, and we
right,
now
right.
have the locator for that, and the boss is like, have you passed or not the test? Can I go to production? And that's it, the only, and vice versa, like talking, if we are managers, if we have teams. And some of those things that you mentioned, I think, are aligned to your tutorial, right? That you are going to be presenting.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
First,
you.
what's the title? We were checking on this.
It's confident communication drives powerful QA leadership.
Great.
Yes, communication, confidence, powerful leadership.
Exactly how
There
she
you
did.
go. So, yeah, I mean, I I don't like to talk about stuff that I haven't done myself. And so I always eat my own dog food. Our team, if we have a new technology, we eat it ourselves first and make sure it is something that we feel excited to share with our clients and with the tech community. And so one of the things as I began to grow and scale, I had leaders that had really not had as much leadership training.
Mm.
And I started to reflect on all the corporate leadership training that I had gone to for the many years. I mean, they had all these classes, good to great, crucial conversations, all of these courses to help you really hone in on how you need to be as a leader. Um, and I kept telling my team, like, I don't know what the right leadership training class would be for you, but um, I want to make sure at the base that you understand your personality and you understand the personality and the style of the person that you're talking to, because when you've got that, you're starting in a good place. And so um, I reached out to Erica Chestnut, whose consulting firm focuses on um, personality, communication, collaboration, and specifically, a lot of her focus is in the QA world. And so I reached out to her to come in to train my team, and that was over a year ago. And I told her that there were needs from our team of how do they communicate up to upper management or to senior clients, executives. How do they communicate across teams, as well as a leader to their direct reports? And those were that was what we were struggling with. And so, as part of that training, we did a DISC assessment, and we get a report and found out kind of a little bit more about ourselves. And it was she made it really fun, lots of activities, but we were all just amazed and laughing because we're like, yeah, this really is how we think and this is how we prefer to communicate. And so we've been able to spend this past year really implementing and actioning what we've learned. And it has made a world of difference. I just went over our company goals again for 2023, and I was like, they're all done, and we're only in September. Whoa, right? So it really allowed us to kind of unlock way more than just communication. It allowed us to actually progress, which I think is what happens. What is a challenge for a lot of QA leaders, like So we just don't have a lot of progress.
Mm.
And we can, I'll say haters will blame it on, well, you just aren't technically strong enough, right? Or some people go, well, there's just not enough budget, right? We can blame it on these external things, but I sit around and evaluate, like, what was the number one thing that allowed progress for leaders, and it really came down to communication, their ability to do that, with their peers, with their direct reports, and their senior leaders, to sell them on, hey, this is why QA is important. You need to give us time, or this is why you all need to go ahead and still do 80% manual testing and 20% on automation, and believe that we will eventually get to the place where we want to go. So all of those can come together. And so I'm really excited about this tutorial, and the people that attend being able to get an understanding of how they can be better leaders.
You got me thinking when you were saying some of these tests, personality tests.
Yeah.
It sounded a little bit like the horoscope. Uh,
Yeah, but the horoscope,
no, I mean that's
it
another.
seems like out there. Like, I'm like, I'm
It's a sign for everyone to that the jacket suits them. Ah, so much a Virgo. Yeah, of course.
yeah.
But on these ones, what caught my attention big time and was going to be a follow up
Yeah.
question is that you mentioned that given the personality, how to do, how, and I think you already kind of mentioned, but do you think everyone is fit for these leadership roles, or not even everyone could be fit, depending? I want to know your perspective, but enjoy it because that's the
Mm.
thrive. Some people are miserable with some of those
Oh yeah.
things, being in between upper and lower and managing, because that's what a leader does. It's enable down and report up. What do you
Yeah.
think?
Well, I was actually speaking on a panel, about Staff Plus, at a dev conference earlier this summer, about these different roles, like individual contributor, leader, manager, somewhere in between. Um, I've done them all,
Hmm.
and I feel like, especially now that we are working a lot longer than we used to, I think there's value in becoming a leader, but you're not feeling like you have to stay in that role forever, because it is, if a good leader, well, I'll take this back, because there's good leaders that probably do this well, but a lot of leaders, you have to absorb the good and the bad from your team, and that can be heavy on a lot of leaders, and over time it can wear on you and make you go, this sucks, I don't want to do this anymore.
Hmm.
um, and so I think at that point, people should probably stop doing it for a while, and find a role where they can be highly impactful. And I've had leaders within my own organization, and they had reports, and they came to me and, like, you know what, I don't want any more reports, right? Um, and but I think what you have to be prepared for is, how can you show that you can have just as much impact, so you don't have to take a salary cut, and do that as an individual contributor. But it isn't for everyone. Thank goodness we don't want, all leaders and no one doing the work. But I found it really exciting to go back to, when I started my consulting firm. I was on the ground doing all of the automation development and strategy, and it felt good after being in lots of meetings all day, just meetings and dealing with political stuff. Man, it felt good to code again. And then I thought, when I started to grow my company and I didn't have the time to do that anymore, it did help me relate more to my team, for them to appreciate and kind of probably respect me more, because they know that I've had my hands in their code and will put my hands in there again if I want to. So I think you kind of have to take this. The cool thing about this new world is you don't have to stick with the same job for 30 years anymore. You can have multiple roles, where you can have value that you give, and you don't have to leave your company. You can do it within your company and just change positions.
That's and I'll be back to some of those points. But what do you think of this uh, natural professional progression into leadership? because
Mm.
many are, I would say, even some may know that, as you say, not everyone enjoys or ends up being. It's not in them. Not saying that they cannot, but it's not in them. But what to do if everything the corporate ladder tells you that you have to
Mm.
strive for that next step? And as you say, but I really feel good coding and I feel good like executing the automations. Why? I don't want to deal with people and the meetings. And
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I had to deal with um, creating an org structure as people, my company got older, therefore titles needed to get more senior.
yeah,
And I had a great experience working at Semantic Corporation. And I started as a supervisor and then became a manager and a senior manager. And they had two tracks. They had the leadership track, and then they had, I'll call it the technical track that went to, you went through architect, senior architect, and then some fancy word. I always forget what it is. A fellow, probably. I think you just end with some fancy word, but it didn't.
senior admiral,
Yeah,
brigadier.
chief of all technology
Uh,
thought, something, but it's still an individual contributor role. So that you and the pay scales were pretty similar. So you could go up in the company and you could see that you are growing, but you didn't necessarily have to go into leadership. It's not that easy in the QA world.
yeah,
And it's hard because in order to get to a fellow of quality testing, you've got to have your hands probably in all the latest technologies 85, 95% of the time, which is just really hard for testers to do because there's so many other aspects that you have to cover, from the manual testing to reviews and meetings, etc. But I've tried to build that out with the QA architect role that I have within my company, and I've had people that wanted, I think, a salary increase, and they just assumed they had to become a leader. And I told them, no, don't do that, because you love to innovate, you love to try new technologies, and I don't want you to become a leader because you want a salary increase. I want you to follow the progression where your skills are going to shine the most. And so I've built out that role, and I think they have that at a lot of organizations. I encourage it more, though. I think that's what we need to keep up with how fast paced technology is going these days.
I believe that a downside of those situations is that, uh, let's say your example, you're someone technical, awesome at your role, and you think that on the leadership side you're
Mm.
gonna excel,
Mm.
or excel money wise. And what happens at times is that if it's not in you, or you're not a person that will enjoy it,
Yeah.
don't only lose a technical wizard that is
Mm.
someone very good at it,
Yeah.
but you end up with probably a manager that is, I'm not gonna say bad at it, but not enjoying it, not thriving through it.
And that's bad energy.
And
That
you
energy.
lose two
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
roles, that just because of this given obsession that I had to go into leadership to become,
Mm.
because it's not understandable.
Mm.
um, just to ramp down a little bit, how do you think, because as well, when you're at the bottom, just at an automator, or just
Mhm.
oh, the leader is only doing that, and you don't understand some of these leadership decisions that
Mm.
you always think is the evil boss just trying to punish you.
I've
How
I've worn that hat for many years, unfortunately.
how do you, yeah, you have that experience, and do you transmit that with your people, or know of ways that they know or understand that you are not the evil boss, you are trying also to do your role, and the perks that come with it, or disadvantages?
Yeah. Well, it's really hard. Um, what I found is kind of the paradox of being a great leader. You serve too. You're a servant leader. You serve your direct reports, but you have a boss as well, and that boss does not, what they want does not, normally does not align with what your staff wants. And so you've got to make a choice. Who do you stand behind? But depending on how much your mortgage is, you're
That's
probably
another one.
gonna stand behind. Um, it is Transparency is something that I think is critical in the way we develop code, but I think it's critical in for every leader as well to share. Um, Sometimes I think I overshare. I know my
But I think
mind,
that's good.
except if you have that mind where inside your head you've got these whiteboards of ideas that are coming, and I've overshared sometimes. Where I'll be like, Stacy, it seems like every day you have a different idea, and I was like, yeah, that's my mind. I have to kind of calm it down and share what I think is going to be the consistent theme that you need. But I think you have to be transparent, and we just had a big announcement in our company, and I closed with our head of operations that used to be our head of people and culture, and I closed with her because she was so good at taking these grandiose ideas and focusing on what I asked her to do, which was what's in it for me, or like answer that question for
For
the
yourself.
individuals within the organization. I can say, hey, we're doing all these great things, but at the end of the day, each person just wants to know what's in it for me. And so she closed, and I almost had a little tear. I was just like, I was just thinking of like the Jamaica track team, or the U.S. track
Cool.
women's, baton. I was like, she just closed so well because she was able to take every goal, every step as leaders that we were taking, and define it by to each individual, and why it was going to be important for them now and in the future. And I do it well. She does it better, but I think that's one of the things as leaders we have to get out of our kind of head of like task, 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 and figure out what it is that our employees, our reports, even our boss really want to achieve. And I tell my team, for our clients, the first thing you do is build a persona for them. And I told them, I want you to know their hobbies, because you really need to understand who they are and what it's in it for them before you begin to give solutions and solving for them.
I think one point that I particularly liked was that oversharing.
Yeah.
Because no, and I mean, it helps when you overshare, especially with your team,
Yeah.
uh, your reporters.
Yeah.
Because hey, guys, I have this situation. The boss is
Yeah.
asking me, and you, as you were saying, you're just an intermediary in between two very different requirements. One is like save, produce more, and the other one is pay me more and let me
Yeah.
more or less keep it. It's an interesting position, and not always is understood upper level, lower
Yeah.
level, and I think that oversharing is a good device to generate some empathy and
It overshare, but bring the people you're sharing with into the problem solving with you.
yeah.
Yeah. So those are the two things
Don't
that
become one of the the boss is
yeah,
just
don't
like
just being there like, he's there, an idiot. They're trying to
right
do something
people.
crazy. All right, see you later. I'm going home. No, you, you want to be like, hey, we've got a real problem. Let's all meet tomorrow and let's brainstorm how we can solve it. Seems to be be more effective than just sharing alone.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a tough
yeah.
and rocky situation. All of
Mhm.
those being in between the teams, understanding high, low, and all the levels.
Yeah,
Um, but now to close up a little bit.
yeah.
Uh, Other than the tutorial, what more fun are you having here?
Well, we also are doing an online, so the virtual our virtual attendees. We're doing something called uh, fast moving faster. Um, it's a theme that I feel like has also gone through my life of, hey, QA, move faster, move faster. And no one says those specific words, but the pressure that we feel is whatever you're doing. Oh, your regression test takes 4 days. Why can you get it into two?
But it's Thursday and it's the end of the sprint. You gotta finish that.
Yeah.
Not 4 days. We have one day.
Yeah, right. So it's always this pressure to move faster. So I put together a panel with Erica Chestnut. We also have a gentleman that is led the dojos at Walmart Labs as they did continuous
Mhm.
delivery. I wanted someone from the development world as well to be a part of it, to just talk about how do we move faster, not as just QA, but as a unit that's trying to deliver some great information. So it's a very interesting panel, and I picked these two people because they had differing perspectives, and all three of us think differently, which is the good panels. I don't like panels where we always go, I agree, I agree, I agree. So there's a little bit of drama in that one as well. So stay tuned and check that one out.
That's what he said. Yes, and that's the panel. No, no, no. The ones that you have opposite perspectives are the ones that get the best.
Yeah.
Where is this panel going to be on the virtual
Yeah,
platform of
it's
the
a
conference?
virtual panel. It's part of the sponsored track. We are an exhibitor. Quality Works is the exhibitor here, so I wanted to have a sponsored session that wasn't just us talking about Quality Works. I wanted to talk about what our clients come to us for. They come and say, "Hey, I've got to move faster, a lot faster, and you need to help me figure it out." So I wanted, there to be some value to the attendees to see how we've done it, how other people have done it.
So you heard it. Take a look on the free tracks. You can subscribe, get into the app. If you are watching it from afar, you cannot be here. And the budget, I mean, there's always the budget question. These ones are open, are
Yeah.
sponsored panels. Check on the platform, subscribe. You know all the buttons. StarWest.techwell.com. Techwell. Well, and subscribe and don't miss a panel. It sounds like it's going to be very interesting. Those opposite perspectives is
Yep.
going to be a very good match. And to last, where can people find you if anyone wants to give a word or get in touch, find out more about these styles, all that?
Yeah, I mean, we just launched a new website, so I'm really excited to say qualityworkscg.com. Quality Works Consulting Group. You can Google us. We should be the first to come up. You can also just Google Stacy Kirk, STACYKIRK. You'll see my LinkedIn. I'm hoping to get better with my Twitter, but definitely LinkedIn is where I post a lot of my thought leadership. And people definitely reach out. This is, as I mentioned, my passion is to inspire people to their full potential, and I love to hear success stories and help people along the way.
Create those success stories, right?
Yes.
Collaborate. Well, there you have it. Get in touch with Stacy. She's asking for if you have any of these things. It's always welcome, and it's always very good to have this opportunity to collaborate with the community, to give
Yeah.
back and promote growth for everyone. Don't miss it. Give her a note and stay tuned for the panel. And not only that, because Stacy may not be the first interview that we have in this week full of StarWest in the Star Streams interviews. That's the name of this thing. When we come to the Star conferences, you're going to be watching the Star Streams. So,
Stream.
uh, not Scream, that's the Transformer. We had to clarify that earlier. Star Scream is the Transformer. This is a Star Stream. And Stacy's gonna be helping me here with some other things. Don't be surprised because this is not the only time that you are gonna see her. There's gonna be more knowledge, experience, and fun from her in these videos, streams. Stay tuned because there are many surprises coming. And with that, for now, Stacy, thank you very much
Thank
for
you. That
sharing.
was so fun.
It flew by, right?
Yeah.
And I hope the
More to
rest of
come.
the talks or things, surprise, spoiler alert, don't later, that we will have a lot of fun.
Yes.
So everyone, stay tuned. As usual, I never know what is coming. If anyone else that is interesting is going to show up and like, hey, another interview, another stream, stay tuned. The week is only starting. The action is going to be packed and we're going to have a lot of surprises. And I think for that, for now, we're gonna end the stream for today. No, not today. For now, and let's see what else comes. So with that, Stacy,
All right.
adios,
Stay
everyone.
tuned.
See you in a bit.
Bye.
And